So I was bored on Instagram the other day and curiosity finally got the better of me, and I decided to do what I've seen pretty much everybody else doing, where I left a little question box on Instagram and I asked you guys to go and tell me what your assumptions about me were. Now, why I chose to do this I will never understand, because one of my biggest sort of fears, I guess, I just get really paranoid that everybody hates me all the time. So why on earth I open myself up to everybody literally telling me why they hate me, I don't know. It got loads more responses than I actually expected to, and some of them I found really interesting. So I didn't plan on making a video about this, but then when a few of them came through, I realised that there were certain aspects of my life or of my personality that I haven't necessarily mentioned and that I have been hiding, not on purpose, just because, I don't know, I sort of thought that they wouldn't necessarily be interesting to you guys. So yeah, but I thought I would talk about them and kind of give my responses to those assumptions, I suppose. Obviously everybody is entitled to their own opinion, and unfortunately people do make assumptions about people. I think it's really interesting to have seen kind of what assumptions people have made about me based on what I put out there. Yeah, basically I don't want anybody to feel like I am like dragging anybody or making fun of anybody, because I'm not. I just thought that they were interesting topics of conversation. Something that I did notice though that I thought was very interesting, and again this is totally fine and within your own rights, every single one near enough I got that wasn't kind came from an account that didn't follow me. And I think the reason for that is that people saw it on their main accounts or their personal accounts, wanted to ask the question but didn't want to ask it under their name, which again, totally fine, I don't mind, I open myself up to it, but I just thought that was really interesting. And the last thing that I do just want to say before we start is thank you so much for 5,000 subscribers, which I hit this week. I'm so excited. That seems like an absolutely massive number, and thank you so much to those of you who have subscribed already. If you haven't, you know where the button is. That number seems massive when I think about it too much, and I try not to, even though I know that like some people have so many more than that. Number's crazy. Thanks for the love. Love you, lol. Okay, anyway, on a similar note, the first assumption that we're going to talk about is you want more subscribers than you have. And I think this is a really interesting one, because there's a yes answer and a no answer, and I think, like, yeah, sure, of course, everybody wants to know that people enjoy what they do or that they're doing a good job. And so when I put a lot of time into making things and I think through what I'm going to make, it's nice to see people enjoying it and finding it useful, if it's reviews or whatever, or finding it enjoyable, if it's just kind of me sitting here and chatting rubbish to you for a bit. And of course, numbers are like reinforcement that what you're doing is a good thing, so to have those numbers is lovely. So I suppose in that regard, yes, I would love to have more subscribers than I do have, if it means that those people are enjoying my content. However, if I could push a button and wake up with 1 million subscribers tomorrow, I wouldn't push the button, because for me, I would always know that I hadn't earned that number to begin with, and I'm not interested in that. I wouldn't find that enjoyable, or I wouldn't take any gratification from it anyway, because to me it's all about the hard work and about putting the work in and about people enjoying the things that you do. Yeah, I just thought that was an interesting kind of topic of conversation, because I feel like, do you want more subscribers than you have? It's quite a complex question, isn't it? Anyway, another assumption that I got quite a lot is you are a positive person. And again, I'm going to really sit on the fence for this one, because I think I am and I'm not. How do I put this? Like, in long-term things, I think I'm quite positive. I always really believe that if you like work hard and work towards what you want, that you will get there. I believe that everything will work out in the end. Yeah, that you can achieve whatever you want to, etc. So in that sense, I think I am a positive person. I'm definitely not somebody who sits and dwells in the problem. I'm much more of a problem solver. That being said, when it comes to little things that I can't control, I'm a massive whiner. Like, if I have a cold, you honestly would think that I'd just been told someone was going to have to cut my head off. If something isn't going to plan, I whine. If I get ill, I whine. And it's little things that I can't control that I definitely do whine about. So in that sense, I'm not necessarily a positive person, but I think overall I try to be a very positive person, and it does come naturally to me as well to kind of look on the bright side of things most of the time. So the next one is just you're straight. This is one that I'm not actually going to sit on the fence of. Yes, I am straight, so far in my life I have never been attracted to anybody who is the same gender as me. Yeah, don't really have anything else to say on that one. I also got are you single, and this, yes, I am aggressively single. There have been a few times in recent years where that has been sort of almost not the case, but I think I've always come back to the fact that I don't want anybody distracting me from what I want to be doing right now and what I want to be achieving. So unless somebody can slot into that and add to my life rather than me feeling like they're taking time away or attention away, then I'm more than happy being single for now. I think that's fine. Another one that came up loads was the topic of money, and I'm kind of hesitant to talk about this because I think it is always a controversial subject, and it's a subject that is quite difficult to talk about. I don't know kind of why really, but it's just like a conditioning thing, isn't it? But also as it is one that came up so much, I don't mind talking about it, and I think, yeah, I just kind of wanted to address it. So I got a lot of questions like, are you rich? I got one that said the assumption was you're minted because you own a house in London at 22 and you go on holiday loads. Again, I got you go on holiday a lot, I got you're too well off for a 9 to 5, I got all sorts, and I just sort of wanted to sit here and kind of address that from my perspective. And I do just want to say before I start that I am very aware that everything I say and everything that I experience comes from a position of privilege, and that I'm very lucky to be in the position that I am. But that being said, based on these assumptions, I feel like an image of me somewhere has been a little bit skewed. First of all, the facts are there. I do own a house in London, I am 22, which freaked me out by the way because I don't think I've mentioned my age anywhere. I do go on holiday quite a lot, sort of 4 or 5 times a year, and I don't have a 9 to 5 job. While I'm incredibly fortunate to have what I have, I wouldn't say that I am rich or minted. I do have to watch my money, especially now living in London because it is so expensive here. But the one that I'm going to be looking at the most is the one about you're too well off for a 9 to 5, because that one bothered me. First of all, there are plenty of people who work very hard who do not work a 9 to 5 job. People work night shifts, people work shift work generally. Not everybody works 9 to 5. But also I thought that I would just give you kind of a little bit of background information into what I do and why I don't have a 9 to 5 job. So I don't know if this is actually going to be interesting to anybody, but the information is here if you want it. So basically, alongside obviously some social media stuff, I do some social media channel management for other people as well at the same time. And that brings in some money for me. I have always been good at saving my money. When I left school, I went and got a job at the theatre for a year. I worked as an usher, front of house, so I was selling like programmes and sweets and stuff. And I was also living at home, and I was really lucky. I didn't have to pay any rent. So a lot of that money I managed to save, and I really did save most of it. I then went to university where I got a student loan, which I am now paying back, which sucks because it's loads of money, but that loan didn't even cover my rent, so I realised that I was going to need to keep working. I then got another job alongside the theatre job and the university course, and I started working at Clinique on a makeup counter as a skincare consultant, which is obviously still a skill that I use. I do my review videos often of Clinique products because I know more about them, so I feel like I can kind of impart that knowledge on other people. But I would love to kind of get to know some more brands as well. Eventually I realised that the theatre and the Clinique hours weren't lining up very well and that I wasn't making enough time for university, so I left the theatre and carried on at Clinique, taking on kind of hours wherever I could. And through doing that, I decided to try and find something that was a little bit more flexible, because I started getting invited to more stuff down in London to do with internet stuff, and I didn't want to turn any of that down because it's fun and because I love it. So I decided to try and find something that was a little bit more flexible, a little bit more on my terms. And I started tutoring kids all the way from primary school up to GCSEs, so like 16 years old mostly, maths and English. And I took on a few of those a week and realised that that situation was a lot more flexible, and the fact is per hour it paid me a lot better than it paid me to work at Clinique. Even though actually when you work out the hourly rate, I don't think that's necessarily true, because I obviously still had to travel to and from the lessons, and I had to plan all the lessons, make all the sheets, etc., because it was all my own material, mark the work in my own time and stuff. So actually, hour to hour, it probably didn't pay me more, but in terms of flexibility, it was worth it, because other than those lessons, I could be wherever I wanted to be able to do the rest of the work. Somewhere in there, I then realised, because of how much I was going to London and back, I knew that I wanted to move to London after uni. However, the year before, I had decided that my goal was to try and buy a house as soon as I could. And then when I started looking at renting in London and how much money it cost, I very quickly realised that unless I did something quite drastic, I was going to end up burning through all my savings on like rent and London living. And then I would be back to square one and wouldn't have any money for a deposit for a house or anything, because I would have already spent my savings. So in the end, I left Clinique altogether and I took on more students. And at one point I had 30 students myself a week, alongside a university course, which was dumb, but also earned me very good money, and I managed to save most of it because, as I said, I had my student loan which covered almost all of my rent, and then I just tried to not be silly with where I was spending the rest of my money. However, then when I tried to explore how much it would cost to buy a house in London or a flat in London, and how much everything just costs just to live, like council tax and bills and stuff, which is so stressful, I realised that physically, with the number of hours there were in a week for me, I wasn't going to be able to earn as much money as I needed to, as quickly as I needed to make it financially viable for me to move here. So I was like, right, how can I make more hours in my week? Because that was the problem. And I realised that the way to do that is by hiring other people. So I set up a tutoring agency and I took on tutors where I planned their lessons and I found their students. I gave them the lesson sheets, lesson plans from all of those sheets that I've been talking about that I made earlier, as well as a few others. But because I'd been tutoring for a good couple of years by that point, I felt that I had the skills to be able to make those sheets in a way that would benefit the students. So I planned the lessons, they were all tailor planned to every student and every tutor, and then I would give them to the tutors, and the tutors would go off and teach the students. I had students of my own as well, and basically what that meant was I was taking a little bit of commission from every lesson, but that meant that I could earn money without physically being in one place, which then allowed me to concentrate on my third year of university and make sure that I graduated with a good degree. Somewhere in amongst that, a national company contacted me and asked me to go in and chat to them about an apprenticeship scheme that they were setting up, and basically they needed somebody to design an entire functional skills syllabus, so basically English and maths, for a load of their workers who were going on the apprenticeship. And originally I thought that was going to be about 10 hours a month. In the end it ended up being more like 100 hours a month, so it ended up being sort of 20 to 25 hours a week most weeks to try and get that syllabus in place, as well as some face-to-face lessons with the students and meetings and all that sort of stuff. So I was running the business that I had set up, I had my own students, and I was working for that company, and I was doing social media stuff, and I was at university. So basically, literally, I was asleep or working, and I really do mean that. And a lot of that kind of work pattern I have carried with me to London, although I have now shut down the Norwich branch of the agency and I no longer work for the national company, but I have filled my time with other things. Like, I work for a couple of other social media channels, I still have students of my own, I'm looking into setting up that agency situation again in London, I'm looking into sort of YouTube channels for tutoring and all that sort of stuff, which is why the question of you're too well off for a 9 to 5 was the thing that made me want to talk about it, because I would like to acknowledge how incredibly lucky I have been to be in a position where all of this stuff has happened, and to have been in good health to be able to manage it, and to come from a background where my parents have always run businesses, and so I've seen that operating and was able to carry that over into my own life, etc. However, I also have worked incredibly hard, and I think that it's important to acknowledge that within yourself and within other people as well. That's definitely not to say that people who have a 9 to 5 don't work hard, and that's also definitely not to say that I have the hardest job in the world, because I'm so aware that there are so many jobs that I physically couldn't do, and that's so much harder than what I do. But I just didn't want people to kind of think that I spent all my time like on holiday or like messing about going out for lunch. I do go out for lunch too much, but and I also did go on holiday arguably too much, but there is a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, and I think the reason that I don't talk about it very much on here is because a lot of the work that I do is with kids or with other channels where I'm not allowed to disclose anything, so a lot of it is sensitive content that I wouldn't really want to share. But that being said, I don't mind talking about kind of the business side of it, and if that is something that you guys would like to hear more about, then do let me know in the comments, because I don't mind, I just don't think it's that interesting to other people. Anyway, that's probably enough now. I think I've talked for ages, but I hope that that has kind of cleared up what you guys might have thought. I'm not offended by anything that was said, and there were loads that I haven't got around to answering just because I just went off on a massive rant, sorry about that. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to, I don't want to say clear the air because I don't feel like there was any real conflict, but let you guys know what things are like from my perspective, and I understand that obviously a lot of that is stuff that I don't show. Maybe I should do like a real week in the life of me. Tell me if you would want that. I'd need to figure out how I could do it. But anyway, I am going to shut up now. Thank you so much for sending in your assumptions. Sorry if I didn't get around to answering yours, but I did read through them all and I think it's so interesting. Give this video a thumbs up if you have enjoyed it, so I know that you like these kind of more personal videos, because I haven't uploaded very many of these recently. And subscribe if you would like to stick around. I would love to have you. Thank you very much. I will see you soon.
A square with a horn makes you wish you weren't born every time he plays. But with a square in the act, you can set music back to the caveman days. I've heard some corny birds who tried to sing.